Hello, welcome to my channel. My name's Alicia. I am not quite sure even what to title this video right now, but I'm kind of going to go over some habits, rules to live by, that kind of thing. I have 11 of them, so I'll be looking at my phone, but some of them are habits that I've recently adopted. Some of them are just good rules to live by. Anyway, first one, and this really is probably the last 2 times we've traveled, I leave the house organized, clean, etc. Normally when we go on vacation, the house is chaos. There's things everywhere. And then you come back to kind of chaos everywhere. And so I've just been intentional the last couple times of leaving the house organized and in shape. So when I come back, all we have to do is unpack, do the laundry, and we are ready to go. It feels so good not to have a messy house to come back to. So for me, that's going to be a new habit that as long as, it's easy to maintain, I plan on sticking with that because it's just nice to come back to a nice, organized house. Along those lines, my number 2 is keeping up with the house each night. I used to follow more sort of minimalist people than I used to. But 2 in particular will always do basically the 10-minute tidy up. It don't, basically only takes 10 minutes to clean up. And in all honesty, for me, that is pretty accurate. So in the evening, I try to do a sweep of the kitchen and the dining room, which is our main areas where they get messy, and kind of put things where they go. And it makes it so much easier. It's nice to wake up and it's all put away. So that is something I've been living by in the evening. I just basically do a 5 to 10 minute pickup and it's all done and it feels so much better. Let's see. This also kind of ties in with that, which I know I've talked about before, but decluttering. I would say about 2 to 3 years ago, I did a major, I wouldn't say major, but I decluttered. I was watching The Minimalist, Marie Kondo, Only Keep What You Love. And I would say we got rid of around 20 to 30% of this stuff. My daughter's toys drastically dropped and just, I purged quite a bit of stuff and it really does help. One of the people I watch kind of calls it inventory. And the more inventory you have, the more stress, the more work. You have to put the inventory, all this stuff somewhere. When you don't have as much stuff, it's easier to put it away. You don't have as much. My daughter's toys were a big one. She had a lot of stuff that took up 2 rooms, kind of like a playroom and a bedroom. And we dialed it back. She has not missed it, asked for it, whatever. She still has plenty of toys. So in all honesty, decluttering has been essential. And it's something we take, I would say 2 or 3 bags. I would say 3 or 4 times or 5 times a year to Goodwill. I just get it out of my house and it feels so much better. So that all ties in. And once you've decluttered, that 10-minute cleanup is so easy. And it just, for me, I don't like mess. I don't like clutter. And so I feel better mentally when my space is organized and clean. And of course, that does not mean I'm perfect. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's house is tidy all the time. So don't ever take it that way either. Number 4, I literally just added 5 minutes ago, but be okay being you. You do you. Whatever makes you happy is great. You don't have to be what's popular, what everybody else is doing. Be okay being you. And that's something I've always kind of been. I didn't necessarily dress the way everybody else dressed in high school, but I liked it and I was fine with it. It didn't bother me. At school, I'm the only one wearing crazy holiday headbands. I don't care. I like to do it. It makes me happy. The kids like it. I don't really care if teachers think I'm crazy. Know what works for you. What works for you may not be the right way to use it or what everybody else does, but really just be okay. You do what works for you. Knowing what you like. If you've never liked onions, we don't need to try to have onions. You do you. It's just a silly example is, people can be like a brush or a sponge. I am not a sponge makeup person. This sponge is probably 5 years old. I hardly use it. Occasionally, if I have a cakey foundation, I might kind of press it in. But in general, I'm a brush person and that's okay. If you're a sponge person, that's okay. And that's a very simplified answer. But if you know it works for you and you like it, that's all that matters. And so I think we need to be more comfortable being ourselves. And I think that's harder. Like when you're in junior high and high school, there's like, I think pressure to fit in. You don't want to stand out. But as an adult, I came into it kind of in my 30s, but now that I'm a mom in my 40s, I am 100%. I'm who I am, and you take it or leave it. And that's not always an easy place to get to, but I feel like we have to be okay being us and knowing what's best for us. Another kind of silly example is caffeine. Number one, I don't drink coffee, but that's not really here or there. But I do like something other than water for lunch sometimes. A Diet Coke, iced tea. But Diet Coke messes with me. I get lots of headaches. So I can't have caffeine every day. I just get headaches. I don't know why, whether I drink it or don't drink it. And so I know that. And so I have to do what works for me, even though, half the world or 90% of the world has a morning cup of coffee. All right. And this one, number 5, you have to work at being satisfied with your life, with yourself, with work, whatever. And that's something I really worked on. I don't know, last 5 years, last 3 or 4 years, I was struggling. There was a time where we're always talking about moving. Do we move? Do we stay? Do we get a new house? Do we not get a new house? Do we get a new car? Do we not get a new car? And I got tired of getting on that, the rat wheel, just running, always having this conversation. And I read a couple books, whatever, but I really just self-reflected. And I basically had to learn to be satisfied. I mean, does that mean you stay in the same place all the time or do whatever? No. But it doesn't have to be a rat race. We don't always have to have the next best house or the next best car or the this or that. And so I think we have to practice being satisfied. I think in this day and age, it's like, self or instant gratification, all this stuff. And I think we all have a lot to be thankful for. And we need to kind of learn to be satisfied with where we're at, what we're doing, take it one day at a time. So that's something that I've had to work at. I'm not perfect at any of these things, but I've worked at being satisfied. At this point, I am so glad we didn't get another house. Could we have afforded a bigger house? Probably. But at this point with inflation, we would be stretched thin. Because if you have a bigger house, it's generally a nicer house. Everything goes up. Electricity, any kind of, people come to your house to quote you for plumbing. If you live in a nicer, bigger house, they're going to charge you more. That's just the realisticness of it. And so at this point, I'm so glad we did not go to a bigger, nicer house. What we have is 100% fine, enough room. We didn't need more. And that was also about the time where I decluttered. I was just tired of the mess. And I thought, well, if we just had a bigger house, then we wouldn't have stuff everywhere. No, you would just have more stuff. So anyway, I'm very glad we stayed in our house and did not upgrade. But I still have to remind myself and calm down, be satisfied. We're okay. You're not wanting for things. And this kind of ties in, number 6 kind of ties in. You can choose to be happy. Again, that doesn't mean you're not going to be sad. That doesn't mean that terrible things can happen and it's okay to be sad, grieve, whatever. But you can choose on how you look at things. You can see the glass half full or you can see the glass half empty. So there's always, in my opinion, something to be thankful for. And so we have to look and practice looking at what we have to be thankful for, being grateful for it. Of course, it's okay to wish for more or okay to have bad days, good days, whatever. But I do feel like we can choose our outlook on life. And with that, if you have negative people in your life, you almost have to put up a wall so they don't bring you down, because it's easy to get brought down into the negative. But overall, it's going to be okay. Things might not always be perfect, but you can choose just to go with the flow and get it done, or you can make it worse by getting into the negative spiral of complaining and whatever. This is another one. Since COVID, we were always on the go prior to COVID, and then COVID happened, and we were for the first time in a long time, I was okay just being home. But it's also okay to travel. So we used to, if it was Memorial Day weekend, Labor Day weekend, we would go somewhere. And sometimes that gets exhausting. But we went away this Labor Day weekend to Utah, and it was just such a nice bonding time as a family. When I'm home, I'm often thinking about my to-do list. My husband's often thinking about work. But when we're away, we're not. So it's a really nice bonding time. And so I do think small little getaways are very helpful. And just my overall point wasn't necessarily that, but life's short. Go on the trip, eat the cake, go wherever. Because you never know when your time's up. And so I think it's important to make those memories, make those moments. Memories are so important. Nobody cares that you had the best Xbox or I don't know, whatever kids are using nowadays. But memories are going to last forever. And so do the trip, do the event, you know, don't just sit at home, get out there and do things. Another habit, I know I mentioned this before, but a habit that I got into during COVID, and it's such a self-care thing. Skincare for me is my moment in the morning, my moment in the evening. It's just kind of a ritual that I really like. And so find a way to self-care for yourself. I used to read a lot. With a kid, I like to read in a quiet space. I don't want the TV on or somebody talking to me. And so I've had to be more intentional about reading. I still don't read as much as I would like to, but doing something other than being on my phone. I'm on YouTube way too much. I'm on like looking at Facebook, whatever. And when I do something different, like read a book, even watch a movie, I feel so much better. And so one of my students was reading this book, The Inheritance Games. I mean, I would say this is probably more geared towards high schoolers, but I love this book. It has like drawn me in, and it's just been really fun to have a book that I'm excited about reading. And I feel so much better when I read a chapter in this than when I spend 20 minutes on my YouTube or whatever. So again, for me, I love books. This is a form of self-care. Make time for those moments. And then number 9 for me is also practicing self-love. I spent a long time being very critical, very unhappy with how I look. I don't know why I'm coughing. I'm not sick at all. But practicing self-love. Again, I spent decades, I feel like, trying to lose weight, trying to do this, trying to do that. I wasn't happy. I was always critical of myself. So again, I've practiced working hard at just being okay with where I am. Could I do better? Maybe. Is it okay that I'm not? Absolutely. Like, you have to meet yourself where you are. And honestly, love yourself as you are. Because I think, again, if you're going to be hard on I think sometimes we treat ourselves worse than we would treat a friend. And that's not healthy. We have to love ourselves and give ourselves some grace. And again, that doesn't mean that you're not accountable. Like, you don't need to eat 5 packs of Oreos every day or what have you. But in general, I think we have to learn to love ourselves and meet ourselves where we are. And then my last one, because I have a bunch about, you know, keeping the house clean, decluttering, all of this stuff, which is great. But it's also okay to take a break. I feel like in this day and age, we all have so much going on. Work, school, if you have kids, your homework, taking them here and there. It's okay to take a break. Maybe that's a getaway. Maybe that's a day at home where you're just reading a book, watching a movie. It's okay to take a break. I feel like it's always like, we always feel like we're in this rat race where we have to like keep up with the Joneses, do all these things. It's okay just to be still and take a break. Anyway, I hope some of those have helped. Anyway, I hope you know that you guys are beautiful. You guys are awesome no matter what. And I will talk to you soon.